Ibrahim Traoré's boots pressed into the dry, cracked earth as he stepped out of the military truck, instantly sensing something deeply wrong. The kind of silence that doesn't belong in a village, where life should echo with the laughter of children, the pounding of grain, the rustle of daily routine. But Darfur was hushed, haunted, with only wind slipping through empty doorways and the faint, hungry cry of a baby in the distance. His aide, Lieutenant Sankara, approached with a clipboard full of development plans and timelines, but Ibrahim wasn't listening. His gaze had locked onto an old woman beneath a skeletal baobab tree, her frame curved with time, a wooden bowl in her lap holding nothing but dust. He walked toward her slowly, gently, like someone who knew that hunger could turn people into glass, easy to shatter with even kindness, and when she lifted her head, her eyes, fogged with age yet sharpened by years of survival, met his, weighing the rank on his chest against the silence in her stomach, and she spoke, her voice dry as fallen leaves. "You are the young captain they speak of, the one who talks to presidents like brothers," and he knelt down, his voice low, almost broken, replying, "Today I'm just a man asking why this village feels like a graveyard," and her bitter laugh cut through the air like unripe fruit. 10 days, Captain. 10 days since the truck came. 10 days since the merchant vanished with our money. 10 days of feeding our children nothing but hope, and as more villagers emerged like ghosts regaining form. Mothers with hollow eyes, fathers bowed by helplessness, children whose bellies swelled not with fullness but famine. He asked for the merchant's name, but she waved it off, saying, "Names don't matter when the grain is gone. What matters is that promises and reality dance different steps, and the poor always stumble." Gesturing to her bowl, passed through generations, through famines and wars, never empty for 10 days straight until now. So he reached out, fingers brushing the smooth wood worn by generations of desperate hands, and in that moment he didn't feel like a leader, just a man witnessing centuries of suffering carved into one woman's silence. "Tell me about your family," he asked, settling beside her, and she spoke softly. Her name was Awa, though most called her Old Mother now. Her son Amadou working distant mines, her daughter-in-law Fatima holding the family together by threads, her youngest grandson Musa, only 3, saving scraps he didn't have to give her, already understanding that love meant sharing even when there was nothing left to share. And when Captain Ibrahim looked toward the compound where Fatima sat nursing her baby, her body slumped like a final wall between her child and the world's cruelty, he closed his eyes, the weight of duty tightening around his chest like a chain. He had come here for briefings and statistics, but statistics never spoke of a grandmother's voice trembling over an empty bowl, or a boy too young to remember fullness yet old enough to sacrifice. And so he asked Awa, "How do you still sit under this tree? How do you speak wisdom when your bowl's been empty for 10 days? And she smiled, a soft, ageless smile that cracked the dust and grief around them, and whispered, "Because the tree gives shade even when it bears no fruit, and the grandmother gives hope even when her hands are empty." The old woman's voice was steady but laced with a quiet fire as she stirred the embers, and when she looked at Ibrahim Traoré again, her eyes held the kind of truth that made men question everything they thought they knew. "The bowl is empty. This is the way of things," she said. "But the question is, young captain, what kind of man are you when the shadows grow long and the people need more than promises?" And those words haunted him long after dusk fell over Darfur like a threadbare blanket stretched too thin to keep out the cold. Inside the dim compound serving as the village's administrative post, Ibrahim sat under the flicker of a single oil lamp, its dancing light casting ghostly shapes on walls plastered with fading posters on maternal health and farming that felt like echoes from a world too far removed from the gnawing hunger outside, while Lieutenant Sankara laid out reports stamped, signed and stacked neatly, insisting that, on paper, everything was on schedule, that grain had been delivered last week, that the numbers lined up perfectly. But Ibrahim's eyes didn't blink at the columns of lies disguised as data and calmly asked, "Tell me, Lieutenant, do these papers taste like grain? Can children chew on bureaucratic efficiency?" And the young officer flinched, offering nothing but the hollow echo of maybe a miscommunication and a suggestion to review things next month. But next month, Ibrahim thought bitterly, might be too late for the children crying themselves to sleep tonight. So he rose and stared out the window, toward the fire where Awa now sat surrounded by her great-grandchildren, flickering like shadows drawn to fading light, and he said, "You see her? That's Awa. She's lived through more crises than any official with a title. She could teach universities how to survive collapse, but no one's ever asked her. Instead, they send lies and stamps while her grandchildren starve." Then, turning back with fire in his voice, he ordered, "Call every supplier, every transporter, every official in the chain. I want to know where the grain went, who signed what, and who decided this village didn't matter." And as Sankara rushed off, Ibrahim stepped back into the quiet of the night, the kind of silence born not from peace, but from people too tired to hope, and found Awa still by the fire, now alone, gently stirring the coals like she was coaxing one last bit of warmth from a dying world. "Can't sleep either, Captain?" she asked without lifting her eyes, and he sat beside her on a woven mat that had clearly outlived better days, replying, "I keep thinking about what you asked me, about what kind of man I am when the shadows grow long." And Awa nodded with the solemn grace of someone who had seen too many men disappear into those shadows, murmuring, "My late husband used to say, a man's real nature isn't shown when he's standing in the sun making speeches, but when he's sitting in the dark making decisions no one will ever cheer for." And so Ibrahim asked about him, and she spoke. His name was Bubakar, the village chief, not by title, but by trust, the man everyone turned to not because he was appointed, but because his heart was appointed by the people. "He listened like your words mattered," she said, "even if all you had were small problems, even if all you were was invisible to the world," and her voice cracked gently as she continued, recalling the year of the great drought, the year their first grandchild was born and the skies forgot to rain, when governments made promises and NGOs held press conferences but nothing came, and the people began to lose faith, some leaving for cities only to vanish into misery. And when Ibrahim asked what Bubakar did, her eyes gleamed with pride. "He walked, Captain, every morning, for 2 weeks, to nearby villages, to the capital, to anyone who'd listen, not to beg, not to threaten, but to tell our story, to remind them that Dafra isn't just a name on a forgotten map. It's a place of heritage, of love, of laughter that's older than any official record." And in the flickering firelight, Ibrahim watched as memory softened her sorrow and made space for hope, and finally she said, "He brought back 3 trucks of grain, not from